Well, welcome back. We are here to cover the back half of Season 5, Episode 9, Allegiance, the penultimate episode of our favorite series. We left off with June and Luke in a really heartbreaking embrace over stuff and things, and then we move on to Serena getting ready for a big day out of the house.
Before we get to that, though, the very end of the first half, we were talking about a locket. Turns out that the best that we could find is not much. There was
She's got a locket.
Yeah, she puts on a necklace in ballet at the 40-minute mark. And we think that might be the same necklace. And then we're hypothesizing that maybe it was the locket that Serena gave. At the end of the day, we settled on it doesn't matter. If it was important, we would have known about it by now. So
True.
Yeah.
all right. So yeah, Serena's buckling up baby Noah.
When Alanis walks up and Serena's her right in the face.
Whoa!
What the hell was that? Okay.
Serena, her right in the face.
Right in the
She
face.
doom heels it right out of the house.
Right out of the house, and Serena'd her right into next week. Shit, my kid and I both audibly gasped and clutched each other's hands.
Yeah.
She really did that.
She
That
did.
was intense. And then she did it again.
I think it was the first one shocked me. The second one shocked me more. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, she's still going.
Yeah. I
Whoa.
know. That was really, it was like she Serena'd her and then she Alanis'd her.
Yeah.
Because Serena's never double slapped. And it was like she's doubly awful.
Yeah, when Serena would smack June, it was usually a one and done, and she did it real good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Alanis is tall enough to really get in there good.
I really like the shot though, because they did a cool thing with the mirror, because I love that you said she Serena'd her, because it's shot through the mirror, the first one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everything, but from maybe not her approach, but definitely the slap is. And it's like Serena is looking in the mirror, like we keep saying, that mirror shot was really cool, because then the next shot, if we're going to say it's not like Serena, it wasn't through the mirror. That was more of presently in the real time, I guess, you know, whatever.
I mean, Alanis's words were just biting. Who do you think you are? And Serena, I am Mrs. Frederick Waterford. And you can tell, she wants her name to carry weight, just like June Osborne carries weight. And, Alanis just knocks that right back down to size. To me, you are just a whore. Ouch. Or, more appropriately, to me, you are just my handmaid.
Yeah. Handmaids, whores.
Potato.
Exactly.
And going back to how you were talking about how it was shot, I loved how when Serena gets into the back of the car, the shot jostles. So it almost looks like it's carrying the camera is attached to the door, and so as it slams shut, the entire frame kind of shakes a bit.
Love that.
It was so kind of well done, because it's Serena's entire world is quite literally shaking.
Yeah.
I loved
That's
that.
so cool.
I loved
didn't
that
notice
micro
that.
shot right
That's
there. It
cool.
was so good.
I love that.
Man, whoever directed this episode, hats off to them.
I think his name's Bradley Whitford. I'm not sure.
Never heard of him.
I don't know, some guy.
I think it might have been his first time on the series.
Yeah, you could tell. Didn't get the assignment at all. Completely missed the brief. But no, I really loved that shot, because if it wasn't already clear to the viewer that Serena's world had been completely jostled, this really drove that point home. Also, was that Ezra that closed the door? Was that Ezra that was back in action? No,
I
they
don't know.
would have focused on him a bit more. But the door had a very angry slam to it, so it did even though they didn't show us that it was or was not Ezra. For me in my head, I was like, that's Ezra. He's just slamming the door on her because he's like, I still have to deal with this fucking bitch.
That bitch shot me.
Yep.
Done driving.
I'm scared of her.
Scared and aroused. It can be both.
I feel like June has that effect on people. It's not usually a Serena thing. I feel like it's a June thing.
It's so true. I really like that with Alanis going with the whole stay away from my husband, sneaking down all alone in the middle of the night after I told you no. It's so Serena when June got caught going to Jezebel's, and she says I think that's when she slaps her. It is when she slaps her.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she throws the dress at her after when she's on the ground. And she says something like, you could have left me with something. And it's like, Serena, come on. But yeah, I just like that. It's Serena. It is a mirror image of Serena once again.
Really, truly hope that Serena, that Serena is actually absorbing all of this and realizing that June never wanted to go to Jezebel's. She was doing what she had to do. She never wanted to hang out in that office and play Scrabble. It was quite literally survival. I hope that just getting these little tastes of it is enough to bring that home for Serena, but we'll find out.
Well, hopefully, the fact that June ate his face off brought that home for her.
Yeah.
She was never really that into it, Serena.
Right.
Do we want a new scene?
Yeah. Speaking of June, let's go. Let's cut to June power walking towards Twello. And that's that that is that conviction and stick-to-itiveness that we love about June. And she sits down next to him, and Lawrence called me this morning. I'm so fucking done with that son of a bitch. Fuck him, Mark. Oh, you just feel the rage seething out of her. And Twello's still reeling from this, of course, which makes sense because all of this has happened within 24 hours. So, and Mark is still probably coping with the loss of, these Americans having had to just contact probably 40 families.
Yeah.
The 30 families of the girls plus the families of the people lost. So he's probably feeling a little bit worn down, and June is just like, you know how we honor those soldiers? We don't stop, not for one fucking second. And she's got her momentum back, and she's got her drive and passion. I think Twello really respects that in this moment, and sees her for the soldier that she is.
Yeah. And that's June, She doesn't stop. She's not going to be stagnant. She's always going to look for the next option. And I love that she sat down and gave him a pep talk. Yeah. I love that she sat down. You said they sat down right next to him, and it was right after she said us. I think she says, Gilead was always one step ahead of us, Mark. And then she sits down right next to him. And it was like in an episode called Allegiance. It was nice to kind of see them on the same level side by side. And I like this whole scene.
That shot of them sitting side by side mirrored when Twello was thanking June for doing what needed to be done.
Yeah.
And they were sitting next to each other briefly as well. I think it's like they are coming to an understanding of where they can wield their powers for each other.
Like that.
Twello doesn't really have much of anything to offer at the moment when June asks him what's next. So he starts, pumping her. Like, is Nick still an option? And she is surprised by the knowledge that Nick could have been an inside guy with immunity. Like, this is news to her. And she's surprised that he said no. And Twello wants to know if, maybe you could kind of get him on board. And I keep coming back to that phrase that Twello used, I don't know, last episode, couple episodes back. I don't remember where he said that June was a get. Well, Nick is a get at this point. I mean, they already have June. But Nick would be even better because he could offer up all sorts of info with as high up as he is. And he wants her to use her power and influence in, these endeavors to try to gain support. And she's just not comfortable with that.
Yeah. And she communicates that very clearly. And he respects that and says, fair enough.
Yeah.
I think that was the most powerful thing he could have done for her in that moment was show that yes, he says directly before that, step up, put your power to use. But he knows not to push her.
It's crazy too because I love that she knew that she could say no and that she wasn't comfortable with it, and then that he, like you're saying, he respected it. But he basically told her to wear the dress and pull the strings.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And she agrees.
Yeah,
because he's going to offer up a meeting, with Nick. It could be today. He could set it up today. He says it would be nice to have a win. I think we all agree on that. Holy shit, somebody in this show needs to fucking win something. Right. Anything at all.
I mean, aside from Commander Elijah Vance, who clearly won the genetic lottery.
I was too busy thinking you were going to say he definitely lost this episode.
I
So then when
mean-
you were like, he won, and then you were like, genetic lottery, and I was like, well, he's still dead.
I mean, fair.
That's where my brain was
And
going. So it took me a second to be like, just go with it. He did win the genetic lottery. He's gorgeous. I know what she's saying.
I'm sorry. That didn't land the way it should have. A man is dead, Roxy. A nation is smaller and you're making jokes.
But not in real life because we still have IMDb. So at least there's that.
She marched out of there like a woman on a mission.
She
I really like the way she was like, okay, I have an action, I have a direction.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Joella. I will go.
She has an action, a direction, and also now she has fuel to her fire because, like, what the fuck? Nick, you had a chance and you said no? And you said no to continuing to contact me. What the fuck is going on? It wasn't just like she was resolute, but you could tell that there was a bit of fire to that step.
For sure. It was like the garden scene where she had all that rage and nowhere to put it. Now she finally has somewhere to put it. And she's marching out of there like she's got something to say to him.
Oh, yes.
She's coming for you, Nick. She's coming for you.
But in the meantime, let's cut back to Serena at the center of attention.
Oh, so cute. She's acting as Gilead's token mother of the savior.
How is she still doing this? Why is she still doing this?
How is she still in blue?
Because she doesn't have anything else to do, I think. I mean, what else is she going to do?
I mean, it's all that she can do.
Yeah.
Ah,
It reminded me of, how they used June a few seasons back when they were trying to get baby Nicole back and they put her up on TV. It's kind of the same thing.
I know. I'm just surprised they're not putting her up on TV as the Handmaid more. They're really letting her tout the whole, I'm Mrs. Waterford. My husband, like she brings it up. My late husband, God rest his soul. We tried for many years. She's really trying to appeal to the wives as a wife. Not, and I think Alanis is smart enough to be like, tomorrow I'm going to appeal to the wives that you're the handmaid. Because that's what I think Serena, she's clinging to the fact that she's controlling the narrative here. So she's in blue and she's talking about her husband.
I think that's funny because there's no way Alanis would handle having a handmaid in her house. I think that's pretty fucking apparent.
word.
Can you imagine?
This would not be for her.
Yeah, it was very frustrating hearing Serena say, like, if you followed Gilead's path, then perhaps you too can be blessed with a child. It's like,
All you need are the magic ingredients: clean water, clean air, getting rid of toxins, devotion to God, and just a little dash of genocide.
just a smidge.
Just a smidge.
Yeah.
And then you too can have your savior baby.
Sprinkled with some rape and theft.
Yeah, and if you can't have if you don't have your savior baby, then sprinkled with a lot more theft.
Yep.
Yeah, big heavy elbow about it. I understand that Serena is in a predicament. She is cornered at this moment, and she has to do this. But my word, it was painful to hear her continue to spout this rhetoric over and over and over again when she is living in it and sees the damage it causes. And I understand, like, she has no other recourse at this moment, but Holy Toledo.
Holy Toronto.
Holy Toronto.
But don't worry, the Wheelers come in to ruin the mood. And just as she's saying, if you follow Gilead's path in Toronto, maybe you too could have a child of your own. Alanis calls her because it is time for her to go home. Streetlights are going out. Serena, you got to get in the car. And Serena's like, yeah, but I'm doing a job here and there's so many people to see, but they're not here to see you, Serena. They're here to see Noah. And I would argue, no, I think they're here to see Serena.
Right.
As much as you want to be in denial,
I know.
Alanis, okay, yeah, it's a baby. You've seen one baby, you've seen them all.
Seriously.
They all kind of look the same, like little, adorable lumps of clay. You've got the person here that can actually talk to you and have a conversation. Believe me, they're engaging with Serena right now.
I know. Exactly.
But I think Alanis just really wants the attention for herself.
Yeah.
Is what it comes down to. And I think she does resent Serena for that, but she also really likes that control. So Serena's, living the handmaid life. And then ensues this back and forth about the breastfeeding, which I thought was fucking hilarious. I don't know. I just feel like I really needed this because I was waiting for somebody to say it. And I'm just very surprised that it was Mr. Wheeler that goes and says it when she's like, I got to nurse him. And there's the back and forth about the bottle. At which the Martha steps up and takes the blame for the lack of the bottle. And I'm like, oh, honey, don't go to bat for her. Don't go to bat for her. She'll fucking handle it. I mean, I guess, okay, yay, good for you, Martha. But still, it's Serena, and I didn't want anybody to go to bat for her.
Right.
Yeah, but the Martha also was present when Mrs. Wheeler just completely laid out and slapped her twice. So I think that she felt like some compassion for that moment. This is also the same Martha that said, like, he's been waiting for you.
Yeah.
So.
And I think they're trying to drive home the camaraderie between the members of the household that are less than, you know what I mean? So you've got, it's the hierarchy of the household, and June always had Rita.
Yeah.
And at least Serena has somebody, and we're going to see that it's somebody that can at least give her some time alone to get out, which is exactly what Rita did, you know?
Absolutely. But yeah, so it was very funny though to hear Mr. Wheeler be like, well, that depends on, or I'm sorry, because Alanis was like, well, try to be fast or try to be quick about it.
Yeah, don't take too long. And I'm like, well, do you want the baby fed or not, Captain Lactation Consultants?
Right.
And Ryan Wheeler's over there like, well, that's up to little Noah, isn't it? And you don't see her face, but you know what's happening.
You see his, and that's enough.
Exactly. You know exactly what's happening because he's like, oh, sorry, I'll just go over here. Whoops.
Yeah, she wiped that stupid smirk right off his face, turned her head. And that was so great.
It was great, but like, man, she has got to be intolerable to be married to if he doesn't even feel like if he's that scared of her.
We've seen her. She's crazy.
She
Can you
is.
imagine being married to her? She's crazy.
I mean, he chose that.
You saw those crazy eyes. She's crazy.
Oh, yes, she is crazy. See the whites all the way around someone's eyes. They crazy.
Always see the whites around my eyes.
So yeah. So no, you can't.
So.
Anyway, so Serena so the Martha's like, I know a place where there's a little bit more privacy. And at this point, this is where I was like, wait a second. The gears are in motion because Serena was, all right, because like you could see like the look on Serena's face and she's like, okay, I have my baby. And she's like kind of looking around a little bit. And I was like, is she contemplating running?
I love that you caught on to it that quick because I didn't. I needed to have the exit sign slap me in the head. There was an exit sign right there, and I was like, that's gonna happen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's like do you mind if I have some privacy? And the Martha's like, of course. And they kind of have like this pause of like this like moment of looking at each other. And I think the Martha also knew at that moment what was going to happen. And she just kind of closed the door gently and walked away.
Take that diaper bag.
Yep.
Take the diaper bag.
Take the diaper bag. And then like that hand up for the diaper bag, I was like, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
And it was a very quick decision too. And it gets so that we can hear Serena's breathing.
Yes.
And then she just runs right out that door with the baby. And I was really into this because I was like, well, this is going to be a totally different experience for Serena than it was for June. I mean, every time June escaped from somewhere, she didn't blend well, and she was in Gilead. So, I mean, her options for getting to a safe place are very limited. But in Canada, Serena could just blend. She could blend, but I'm wondering how much of a giveaway would that baby be? I mean, I know that babies they're not unheard of, but it's still super extra special that she has one.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
the fact that she has this baby with her is as bad as June having her ear tags still in.
Yeah.
Right. I always forget that babies are that rare. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah. Also, the fire alarm goes off as soon as that door opens. So her time is limited.
Yes.
She has seconds before Mrs. Wheeler is going to come running out of that door.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the first two, Serena has a moment of panic. And it's like, somebody help me, and then steps in front of that car. And in the first actual act of Serena doing something selfless and caring for and like protecting her child, right before that car looks like it's about to hit them, Serena turns.
Yeah.
I like that.
Loved that.
It was so swift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so reminiscent of June in front of the truck.
Yes.
When she was trying to get out, was it season 2?
Yes.
And with Omar.
Oh, yeah.
And she does the same thing. You got to save me.
Yeah.
And she puts herself right in front of that truck.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely perfect. And we now have a new random stranger introduced into the midst. This woman staring at Serena, and Serena just says, "Help me save my baby." And the woman just kind of like, is obviously a bit shocked. She almost just hit a human being that she, when turned around, realizes there was a baby attached to it. And the woman just kind of nods her head and goes, yeah. And into the car Serena goes, and away they drive without any panic, no tire squeal, and just blending, exactly like you said, just blending right on into the normal traffic.
She did take that left turn pretty quick, though, so I appreciated that because I'm like, oh, you're good at this. Okay, cool. All right. You moved on all smooth, and then you were like, boom, I'm out. I like it.
God, that fire alarm though was. We were already in going to be in a bit of a state of panic and anxiety, but as soon as you hear the fire alarm go off, it's like, oh no, you didn't plan this. And that was one of the things that June had explicitly told her.
Yeah.
You will bide your time and you will plan your revenge. This is not planned.
Yeah.
She's just winging it.
Yeah.
She saw an opportunity and she took it.
I
Which is
know.
very smart.
I really loved that moment right before that opportunity because it's like, it's so relatable. Like sometimes you don't have time to think about it. Like you said, like once she opens the door, she really doesn't have time. But she's already on the clock. If you're going to go, you got to go. You don't have time to scope it out. So I just really appreciated that like brief moment where you could hear her breathing and you kind of just see the whole shot of the door behind her with the exit sign. And you can just feel the weight of her thought for just that brief moment before she just goes. And that's what made me my jaw drop when I watched it, because I was still contemplating all the reasons why she shouldn't go out that door, because where is she going? How is she going to get there? She's not going to get far. The security, there's too much. And then she was just gone, and it was, I liked it. I really liked that moment. If you could feel it.
Yeah. It was both anxiety inducing and a relief.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It really was. There was a lot of opening of doors and like taking opportunities and walking through them. That was kind of cool. Like it starts with that the very first shot of the episode. Tuello and June are walking through the door into that
hangers
like
opening.
where, yes, and then you have Serena when there's a transition where she's opening the door to the fridge, which is bringing the bringing the milk down. But then she has to go through that door. It's that choice she has to make. That opportunity is there. He's sitting right there. So she goes through that door. And then again, she's got this door in front of her and she takes that opportunity and goes through it.
Yeah.
This is kind of cool. It was recurring. I noticed it early on in my notes, and then I kind of forgot about it until this scene. So that's all I have. There may be more, but I didn't pick up on it.
That's a good amount.
Yeah.
Do we want a new scene?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the next scene, June's Subaru pulls up to an old stone mill house of sorts, and Nick is around back waiting at the top of the stairs, and that reminded me of his stairs going up to the garage.
Smoking a
So I was
cigarette.
like, oh, look at that. We're back again. But June's on a mission.
Yeah,
She's like, why didn't you say yes to Mark? He said you could still come. Why the fuck didn't you say anything to me? So June has come a-calling, and she wants answers right now. And Nick's like, well, I can't just pick up and leave. And June's like, well, but you expect me to.
Yeah.
Which is a fair point.
Pretty typical in a lot of relationships where there's children concerned.
Yeah.
I mean, June is rightfully pissed. Like, why didn't you say? And why didn't you say yes? Why the fuck did you say no? And Nick reveals to June that Rose is pregnant.
Oh, that stopped her in her tracks.
And it did. And she went from a diatribe of swears and anger to, oh.
It was such a quiet oh.
Right. And just the right.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it just makes sense once you think about it. You're like, yeah, Nicole, right,
Yeah.
right.
No, this
No
tracks.
Handmaid's for you.
Before we get too further down the line, though, I loved that this meeting, there was no joyful leaping up. There was no running into each other's
Yeah.
arms. There was no kissing. It was just like, I was actually very relieved to see that. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, good. We're coming at this from a different place now. We're coming at this from a place of understanding that that phone call that they had that they thought was going to be their last goodbye, which now, again, what is this last goodbye number 73 for them, roughly?
Something like that, yeah.
But they're starting to learn that their lives are going to be moving in different directions, and they're both handling it with a bit more grace.
Restraint.
Yes.
I think it's restraint. I think they know how to restrain themselves in this situation. Restraint is called for, and
Yeah.
they have to employ it. But they know how to.
They do.
Fingers. And I hate it, but they restrain themselves a lot.
Right. There was one jarring difference in the way that they were both communicating about their respective decisions to stay where they were planted. Nick said, "I have to do whatever it takes to protect my family." And June said, "I want what's best for both our families." Any thoughts on that, ladies?
Didn't really jump out at me.
Really?
Yeah.
I found that interesting because for me, like I hear, like when I heard that, like I have to do whatever it takes to protect my family. When I hear Nick saying that, we know he loves June. We know he loves Nicole, because he makes a point of saying as much immediately after this. But it just felt so much like but Rose is my family. My wife is my family. My unborn child is my family. I love you too, but this needs to be my priority. Whereas for June, it can be both. Why can't it be both? Why can't it be taking care of both of our families and creating a better world overall for our families? It sort of felt to me like she thought he was giving up on the notion of a better life for everyone.
I understand that he is being pragmatic. I feel like he's learning that from Larry, but it kind of makes me think of that phone call that June just had with Larry when she's, saying you're one of them. I understand what you're trying to do, but you are playing too nicely and you're one of them. And Nick, in this conversation, says Gilead is changing. There's progress under Lawrence. We're making it better.
Yeah.
And she's like, we? So you're one of them now, too.
Yeah.
I mean, he kind of he is full commander. I mean, he still might be resistance, but he's got a wife and he's got a baby on the way and he's getting all the accolades for all these things that he's doing. I could see where it would be very off-putting for her to be hearing this shit come from him.
Yeah. And the whole reason she's there is because he turned down allegiance with the United States. So this for him to say we and talk about Lawrence, especially after that phone call, that Nick's showing his allegiance, and that's not what she wants to hear in this situation.
No, of course not. And I love that, like, that from that point on, it's like, well, this is a fine mess, isn't it? And like, I don't want to make trouble for you, and like these restrained placations.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was a sweet moment.
It really was. I enjoyed it. You know what I really like too, because I want to bring it up because I realize I could be wrong. I'm in the middle of editing last week's episode, so maybe I did say it and I just don't remember, which is always possible. But I think I didn't mention in last episode that when Nicole and when June and Nicole are having that moment in the bed when she's crying and then she's singing to her, you can see the doll that Nick got her in the background.
Oh, I didn't notice.
Yeah, to get a real clear shot. I mean, I'm 99% sure it's the same doll. It's a pink dress, a little blonde doll. And so I wanted to bring it up here because I really wanted to bring it up there, and I think I forgot to. So I just appreciated that little nod in that scene because then, he does go into the whole, do me a favor and tell Nicole I love her and that I miss her.
Yeah.
I think of her all the time. And she's got his doll still. It's sweet.
That is very sweet.
he's not fancy enough for his own driver yet. And I'm like, wow. So, okay, if you figure him and Lawrence are based in Boston, I was playing around. If I was just taking a wild guess at where they could be, that would be close in proximity to Toronto. But also just like easily accessible and not too much of an obnoxious drive.
Right.
So I was like, how about I use Niagara Falls as just a ballpark spot, a roundabout where maybe they could meet. It would take her an hour and a half to get to that general area, and it would take Nick 7 hours to get there from Boston.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's one hell of a drive.
Yeah.
That is one hell of a drive. So you're going to do a 14 hours round trip to have this really depressing conversation. A few words.
Yeah. No kidding.
Very few words.
Well, Nick is Nick.
Yeah.
I mean, and has always been a man of few words. So this for him was a lengthy conversation.
Yeah, it was.
Could have been an email. If only. If only. I did, when they were standing face to face, I thought that he was going to go in for a kiss. And I think I was just about as surprised as June was when he didn't. I was like, oh, okay, I guess we're not doing that anymore. But okay, he is married to Rose, and he seems like he's trying to be a much better husband to her than he was to Eden. So, okay.
I didn't think that June was necessarily as surprised because I felt like that was her really stifling it down, like the way that we're watching Serena and Naomi do it in this scene, in this episode. But I think it could have just been that I was with you. I kind of expected it to be that moment, and then I was just kind of surprised that it wasn't, and they both just seemed like they were really restraining it. I didn't know if it was, I didn't pick up on her being surprised because I really felt like she was kind of also just not really ready to go there after this whole conversation. You know, would have felt a little off.
It might have been the only thing that could have made it better, though.
But would it have actually made it better?
Probably not.
No, it would have made it worse.
No.
And at this point, it's because, exactly like Marjorie said, we now see that Nick has picked where his allegiance lies. We know where June's allegiance lies. The two are not compatible in that regard. So even if they were to hug it out a little bit, that would even feel a bit forced at this point. Like
it would be awkward, just like every other interaction we've had.
Exactly. Like a kiss on the cheek would have been awkward. Like like any sort of physical contact at this point would be awkward because now they have to make a clear mental delineation between the two of them. And that's a little sad to see for June because she definitely looks wistful at that moment.
She reminds him, to set a good example. Children look to their fathers, buddy, so be a good one. And honestly, when they parted, I was sitting there thinking like, okay, they're never going to see each other again. And I'm like, nope, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that because I said this before. Right. I thought for sure that kiss that they had in the middle of season 4, or no, it was episode 3 of season 4. I was like, nope, this is it. Never going to see each other again. And then here we are, like 6 meetings since, like, never mind.
Yeah.
Maybe this is the last one, but it's probably not.
If he drives 7 hours to go have this conversation with her, 14 hours round trip, like, no. They'll see each other again when they need to. It's just going to be hard. And it's, like, they can't. I think that's what he said earlier, right? Like, we can't keep doing this. They've been saying that's the theme of their relationship. They always can't keep doing this. Right. And they always keep doing it. So they'll see each other again. Trust me. They will.
Cut to the next episode and
like drive them back up. They're going to start looking for property somewhere in the middle. They kind of like that Mary Magdalene school. Is that the same place? Do they meet up at the same place?
No, I don't think it's the same
different?
place.
So they just keep.
I'm pretty
It'd
sure
be
it's
safer
different.
if they were in different places.
Or maybe it is the same property, but it's just a different spot on the property.
Maybe, yeah, that makes sense.
But see, that's where Lawrence failed with his New Bethlehem plan. He shouldn't have put it on like the scenic coast, New England coastline. He should have put it in like Whitehall Junction, Vermont. A nice middle ground, if you will,
I know.
between Toronto and Boston.
I know. I think I agree.
I don't know if White River Junction would be. in
Stowe.
like the right spot. Because isn't up there,
Burlington.
they consider that to be like rebel territory.
Burlington.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, it would be too close to
I
the
have
rebels.
no lay of the land. I'm a bad New Englander.
I'm a weirdo and I look at maps for fun.
I mean, so do I, but just not usually.
No, I just think I wasn't thinking about the fact that it's kind of in a weird no man's land. They don't want they're not going to put New Bethlehem in the like rebel territory.
Yeah,
because isn't that where like the Handmaids were? Never mind. I don't know geography enough, but yeah. Either way, I know that was rebel area.
That is a good point, though. They wouldn't want to put them close to rebel territory. But if you made it a middle ground, then June could have her cake and eat it too.
True.
You know what I really liked about the last thing she said to him is she said, "Hey, Nick, children look to their fathers, set an example." It's the same plea that she gave him when she wanted him to talk to the Swiss about Nicole staying in Canada. And she said, this might be your only chance to be a father to her.
Yeah.
So do something for her. And so she's basically saying the same thing again of like, you're a father. So while you're over there with this kid you're about to have in Gilead, like, what kind of example are you going to lead?
Right.
Person who just swore allegiance to Gilead right in front of my face. So while you're over there, you and Lawrence taking it down from the inside, you Nazis, like, remember who the enemy is, I guess.
Exactly.
Remember who's watching you, your kids. On both sides of the border.
Right. And then, of course, after leaving Nick, we cut to Rose in Lawrence's house.
Yeah, with Mrs. Mackenzie and some other wife, and they're fawning over her pregnancy. Did we ever figure out what Mrs. Mackenzie's name is as of right now in the show?
I don't think so, no.
I want to know, is it Tabitha or is it Paula? Because that's going to be a thing that's going to come up with Hannah's stuff because she had, she had the two Gilead moms. There was the one that died and that was Tabitha, and then Paula comes after.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
So I just wonder, I am sure that this is Tabitha, but I wonder if we're going to get a Paula later.
Right.
And I kind of hope we do because that was a juicy storyline of the
I know.
Testaments, and I really dug that.
I know. I agree.
Agreed. Well, in any event, Naomi comes in at this point, and absolutely delightful. They're so the other three wives are so happy to see her. But aunts are on the guest list now.
They are when they're Naomi's chaperone.
Yeah.
Well, Naomi, I mean, we've just watched Larry try to get through that incredibly awkward proposal. And then you watch Naomi just come in here and do what Naomi does. It's like, you know what? They might be an interesting pair because they're going to balance each other out because Larry can't work a room like that. But look how she worked that room the way Naomi can.
Yeah.
It was good. It was impressive.
Is this how we get Resistance Naomi?
Begrudgingly, she might have to. She might have no choice in it. It's interesting the way they shot the scene. She ends up sitting on the same side with Lydia and all the other wives on the other side. It's pretty cool. I could see it for sure. Maybe you end up in Lawrence's household and you turn Resistance one way or the other.
Right.
I want to see that.
Yeah,
that
I
is
do
something
too.
I would love to see. Naomi Putnam getting into Resistance Network.
Yeah.
What? Okay, that could be fun.
I mean, she is always, to your point, Marjorie, she is great at working a room. She's great with social scenes and social settings, which means that she's fantastic at dealing with lots of moving parts and keeping everyone organized.
Yeah.
Could work. So, there was a line here that was very interesting that before we get to the end of the scene though, and the positioning, that one of the other wives asked if there was any chance for any genetic issues, considering.
What an asshole.
Right?
Yeah, she says, okay, Mrs. Mackenzie says, you and Nick must be thrilled. Asshole wife says, I'm concerned. The chance for any genetic issues, considering. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And she looks absolutely, utterly relieved when the commanders are all coming back in, and Nick comes. I'm sorry, I skipped the meeting of the commanders.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The boys' club.
Yeah, the boys' club hanging out. congratulating themselves on being masters of the universe with a bustling fireplace in the background. And we hear that, oh, isn't it so nice that now Gilead has strengthened their alliances with China, Russia, and North Korea?
Well, that is quite a winning dance card.
Sure is. That tracks.
Great.
100%. And like Larry's comment of like, any club that would have me.
I know. I love how Nick's trying to be allied up with Larry, and he's like, come on, dude, you're not helping me. I can't even, like, you're going to make me laugh at that? He could barely, like, stifle it.
Yep.
Like, he barely summoned a grin and be like, haha, that's a joke, see? Larry's so awkward. He just can't.
Truly insanely awkward.
So Mackenzie was asking Blaine about the troops. So I think are we clear? He's in charge of the troops. He's commander of the troops, right? He's got to be military of some sort. He's not eyes.
He's at least the Boston liaison for what's happening in the military.
Right.
How does that make him not important enough to have his own driver?
I know. I was wondering if he was just joking about that. I think if anything, he's important enough where he can decide if he wants a driver. And I think Nick's smart enough to know that he doesn't want people in his house.
And also, if he is going to be an eye, or rather, if he is going to be in control of the eyes, he needs to be able to do things covertly.
Yeah.
Having a driver, that's another person that you have to vet, another person that you have to decide if you can trust.
Or even if he's just trying to like sneak up and see June and work with Larry, he doesn't want people in his house. I mean, even the conversations he's have with Rose, they're not conversations that you would normally have, you know what I mean, in a household. But it's clear that there's no one else in their house. There's no Marthas. We haven't seen any kind of like typical Gilead household. Their household is the two of them as much as we've seen.
We do know that there's a Martha there.
Oh, is there? Oh, yeah.
Because when she was
says he's
making
not
him
there.
morning coffee, and she said, "I let our Martha have the morning off,
That's
so I
right.
made your coffee, and I didn't remember how you take it at first." And
You're right.
Yeah.
We just never see her. Never around. But yes, you're right.
must be a pretty sweet gig for a Martha then.
I'd be pretty happy being in that house.
Yeah, no kidding.
They don't bother me.
Yeah, but Nick knows the Marthas are discreet enough. he works pretty closely with the Marthas and has in the past. And he knows that as a driver, he was privy to a whole lot of fucking information. Mm-hmm. He was privy to making a baby with June.
Right.
It's just, nah. I don't think Nick wants any part of a driver. He'll drive himself. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
He's going to continue working on cars. We're going to see him out there in his little Bible salesman suit, changing the oil. Adorable.
Or Rose is gonna run away with him the way Eden did with Isaac, and he doesn't need that either. Like, he doesn't need anyone in his house.
Right. Oof. Well, then who was it? Mackenzie suggests that we got to take care of the June Osborne problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Something worth considering. Cool. So he's thinking about like just assassinating her on Canadian territory.
That's apparently the plan.
Yeah. I mean, solid plan.
Ruthless.
Would expect nothing less, to be entirely honest. But
Yeah.
But Larry understands the ramifications of sending an assassin up to Canada, and just says it's certainly it's something worth considering.
Yeah.
And then they all file into the next room, and I realized that they were in two separate rooms the whole time this was happening.
I know,
I
me
really
too.
thought they were in the same room and having the conversation on opposite ends of the room, and then it all came together. Look at that. I'm just unobservant. I don't know.
And the commanders are done with their lunch break. Go back in to join the ladies in the parlor, and Rose looks genuinely relieved to see Nick. He puts his hand on her shoulder. Are you okay? I am now that you're here. The few moments that we get to see with these two, they're very tender and they're very sweet, and I like Rose.
I do too. I think his presence made her feel better, and maybe vice versa.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw the room she was in. That crazy bitchy wife. You'd be
that
happy
sucks.
for him to show up too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But they definitely have each other's back. There is definitely a camaraderie there. They would rather be presented as a united front than separated, trying to navigate these two situations separately. Like, together they were stronger for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, this is all very uncomfortable because Naomi's still sitting, and Lawrence turns to her, and I was just thinking, like, is this like a date? This is like the saddest gathering I've ever seen with these two. And Mackenzie has like these kind words for Larry and the job that he's doing. And Larry says, I like to defy expectations. And he puts his hand on Naomi's shoulder. And this weirds her out. It weirds me out. It probably weirded him out. He's probably like, is this a thing I should do? I'll just put my hand here. Right? Is this good, Aunt Lydia? Is this good?
Oh,
All right.
do you think that's what it was?
I don't know. It was.
Oh, I thought he was like trying to signal to her. I don't think she picked it up. But when he said, I like to defy expectations, her expectations is that he's a monster.
Yeah.
And so
As
I
they
thought he
should
was
be.
trying to be like, don't worry, wife. I'm not a monster. I didn't think he was trying to do it awkwardly. I thought he was like, that was like the nicest, like most normal human thing he could do in that situation was be like, I like to defy expectations. Get it, Naomi?
And because
I'm gonna
it's
surprise you.
And because it's Larry, it is awkward.
Well, that's valid. I mean, she's still, I don't think it was enough for her to pick up, but she flinched.
Yeah.
See, and that's why I didn't take it the same way that you two did of him being like, hey, Naomi, like, I'm not a monster. I took it as him seeing that she was very clearly separated. She was there with Aunt Lydia as the escort, and it's like, no, I'm not going to be gentle-handed about this. You thought at our last meeting you had a choice, and he puts his hand on his shoulder and doesn't look at her when he's saying, I like to defy expectations. He's looking out at the other commanders, and it's sort of like, and Naomi flinches, and they both look she looks exceedingly uncomfortable, and he looks sinister to me in this moment. For me, it was like, oh, he's not going to allow Naomi to make the choice. He's basically staking his claim right now. Like, no, you need to be with me or there will be repercussions. I took it in a much darker sense than you two did.
I thought by her being there, she already made the choice.
I'm inclined to agree, but I don't think he was trying to make her comfortable. I don't think that was his primary goal. I think his primary goal was to exude that power to the other commanders, and her comfort level was an afterthought.
Yeah.
Maybe it's both.
Yeah,
Or maybe
I
it is
think
both.
it was more both of like I definitely think he was making a point of I'm defying expectations. Look at me be a strong Gilead man and my scared little wife, and I'm just gonna put my hand on her.
I
and,
can flirt. See?
Yeah, right. Like it could be all of
I
those
know.
things. I just think that he was hoping she would pick up on the play of words he was doing, and I don't think Naomi was in a place to play on it. I do love that Lydia just like now gets to show up at these events. Like it's really I'm enjoying everyone else's shock as she's just like, well, this is where I'm going to be now. I love that the wife was like, is this the thing aunts come to? It is now. Thanks to the commander wants him here.
Lydia playing matchmaker. She's like a fucking Yento over here.
Fucking terrible.
I know, but it works out so perfectly because now she gets to show up. That's the deal. That's definitely the deal they made was you are now privy to these wives' conversations because Larry needs to be privy. He's dragged into another room too, so he doesn't know. So now he's got Lydia in there to hear everything they're saying about their husbands because they're going to talk about their husbands. And now they can all start collecting it. It's beautiful. Love it.
Oof.
Well, Mackenzie says something to him. He says, you're truly one of us now. And there it is again. There's the we, you're one of them. Now you're truly one of us. And that is not a compliment. And that word allegiance is back.
Yeah.
Because to June, it just seems like Larry's allegiance is to himself and to trying to fix this shit show that he created. And she doesn't feel like, his allegiance is towards her or to doing any good because he can throw his humanity away so easily. So this is not a compliment, Larry. It's not a compliment. It does give him pause. He knows it.
Wow. We go from one creepy firelight session to a bit of a memorial service, it seems. And we cut to Twello reading the names of all of the American soldiers who died in the attack. And by the attack, I mean the American attack on Gilead soil.
Yep.
Because they were flying in unfriendly space. Still a massive tragedy, though. And this memorial service is happening while surrounded by Canadians loudly protesting it.
Yeah, what's up with the Westboro Baptist Canadians?
Right.
Jesus
Gross.
Christ, like protesting a vigil. You're a spectacular piece of shit if you do that. They are so distracting. Like, because I was trying to pay attention to this like quiet, solemn moment, and you just couldn't.
Yeah.
You absolutely couldn't. And then who's there but little Emma, whose dad didn't come home, and she's gonna say the pledge. And she's struggling with it. Well, you know, I could see that. She's been through some like shit.
Yeah. Speaking of struggle, Twello choked and stuttered
Yeah.
when he was saying Commander Elijah Vance. That's what makes me really think that these are not just people that he works with, but people that he considers friends.
Yeah.
I like seeing Twello display human emotion like a regular person. It's pretty apparent that he's been through some shit. But I'd like more just to humanize him a little bit, because he's just consistently a guy in a suit who has extreme restraint.
Yeah.
All areas, no matter who he's dealing with.
Seriously.
And I really like him. I like seeing him thrown off, like when he was dealing with Serena and he was just utterly exasperated by her. He just didn't have words. And I like seeing that. We don't get enough of that, and I'm into it.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, like that moment where June interrupted Twello, like coming home from his run, and he's like, and he breaks. He's like, you can't do this. I have a life.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so he calls up Emma, Vance's daughter, to lead the pledge, and I mean, who can blame Emma? She's choking through it.
It's a rough time. I mean, she's basically up on stage. She's in front of all these people. She's got her dad's picture looking at her. And then she's hearing these horrible chants from all the people around her.
Yeah.
Poor thing. And June notices that she's struggling, and June asks her mom, I assume it was her mom, if she could go help.
Yeah.
And she does, to go offer some support. And it's a really heartfelt moment. And again, this is June's wheelhouse. She knows how to deal with little kids.
Especially little kids that have undergone trauma.
Yeah.
So I had the volume up really, really high on my TV when I watched this. And when the gunshots rang out, it scared the ever-loving shit out of me. Because, I mean, this is a reality. I mean, believe me, nobody in this crowd of Americans is unfamiliar to what that means. If you're somewhere where there's a lot of people and you start hearing shots, that's it. You're going to become yet another news story. Whether you make it or not, you just lived through yet another old American pastime.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like what better way to end a vigil, an American vigil, than when making it a mass shooting? I can think of nothing more American.
I know.
The shot of the flag with the bullet holes in it was
Very
really,
powerful, and
really
also
powerful.
was directly in front of where June was standing. We get it. June has plot armor. And also, we get it. People are trying to assassinate June.
It was a pretty fucking narrow miss. But here we go. That's assassination attempt number 1. We knew it was coming.
Yep.
We know that there were going to be 2. So here's one of them. I don't know when the other one's going to happen, but here's the first one. This changes things.
Yeah.
I am wondering if there was anyone on the other side of that flag.
Oh, Jesus.
Probably.
Any innocent bystanders that may have been shot. So we'll see.
Yeah. It's definitely a possibility.
And it's appreciated. I appreciated that June was able to react so quickly and duck down. And her first thought was to duck down to protect Emma.
Now that song, Roxy, I know you got it.
I do. If there's ever a song to end on,
I actually know this song.
You
This is
do?
exciting. I do.
Oh, my
I know
goodness.
this album, actually.
this album fucking slaps.
I love Janelle Monáe.
Janelle Monáe is an absolute goddess. So this is her song Americans, which just the name alone is very appropriate. And this song has been the song is now considered like a modern protest song. It was playing at a lot of people were playing it at the during 2020 Black Lives Matter rallies. So Gosh, let's just start from the beginning with the lyrics. Hold on, don't fight your war alone. Halo around you, don't have to face it on your own. We will win this fight. All souls be brave. We'll find a way to heaven. We'll find a way. War is old. So is sex. Let's play God. You go next. Hands go up, men go down. Try my luck, stand my ground. Die in church, live in jail. Say her name twice in hell. Uncle Sam kissed a man. Jim Crow Jesus rose again. So we're already looking at like massive issue, or Uncle Sam kissed a man. That's definitely getting more into like the that's veering away from the Americanism of racial politics and going more into issues with homosexuality that a lot of those same people have. But anyway, I like my women in the kitchen. I teach my children superstitions. I keep my 2 guns on my blue nightstand. Let me see. I pledge allegiance to the flag. Learn the words from my mom and dad. Cross my heart and hope to die with a big old piece of American pie. Until women can get equal pay for equal work, this is not my America. Until same gender loving people can be with who they are, this is not my America. Until black people can come home from a police stop without being shot in the head, this is not my America. Until poor whites can get a shot at being successful, this is not my America. Because it's not America. Everything about this song was perfection to end this episode with. It's a pretty straightforward song that makes it abundantly that's obviously meant as a protest song, and it also does draw a lot of the issues that America has that America needs to fix, which are brought to light in this episode over and over and over again, and they kind of slap us in the face with it a couple of times. But yeah, America is not a perfect country, but it is at this point in Gilead, it is not a tangible country. It is a concept and a theory, if nothing else, which obviously still has some work that needs to do. But at this point, it is all this small little group house. Yeah.
It's a good song for intersectionality. It's a good song for midterms, which are coming.
It is.
Because I think this might be the last episode we record before voting.
It'll be the last that airs. Midterms are next.
That airs,
midterms are in 1 week. So this is the last episode that will hit the air before the midterms.
Oh my God.
Good song to end on.
Absolutely.
100%.
You know what? I have one final thought about this scene that I really like moving forward into the final episode too is, it's definitely been throughout the season, we've been feeling Gilead just kind of like seeping in, and June's noticing it. And we've talked a lot about how in the beginning she said, I'm awake now, and that whole quote. This final shot of her like with the protesters and then the protesting breaking out into gunshots, it does remind me of, I forget what episode it was, but she goes to a protest with Moira and they end up running, and it's kind of like the first time she realizes just how close to home everything is hitting for her. Like it's the first time like it really hits her that she's too late. And I forget what they were specifically processing. Is it the bank accounts or is it the birth control?
I think it was one of the bank accounts.
Okay, that would make sense. And at that point it is too late. And so to go into the last episode on the right after this and knowing everything that she feels, like even the way she's on the ground, that last shot of her looking up, I think it feels very reminiscent of her being on the ground as gunshots are fired over her head in that flashback. So just makes me really excited but really nervous to see where we're going to go with this season, because I think that it doesn't feel good. It feels like, Gilead, it's just Gilead 2.0 starting over again, and I don't like it. It's seeping in. It's coming for her, whether we like it or not.
I feel like it's coming for us.
It is coming for us.
Well, that's what this song made me think of, like how Janelle Monáe, she's non-binary. She uses they, them, and him and she. And transgender people are the canaries in the coal mine for everything that the far right has done to undermine our democracy and our institutions. And so it's an issue that's very close to my heart, and what's happening in Florida this past week scared the crap out of me, because the Florida Medical Board has banned gender affirming treatment for all children under the age of 18. And that is such an incredibly damaging thing to do to these kids and to these families. Because when you tell a group of people that you are no longer allowed to access medical care, that is a method of genocide.
Yeah.
So it's here and it's happening. And you mentioned, that episode with June and Moira, by the time they started protesting, it was too late. And that scares the crap out of me that we're probably too late. And in that same episode that you mentioned, remember how we were talking about there was that guy. Remember that the bearded dude with the glasses and like the long hair when they're on the bridge before they open fire? Do you remember that?
I remember the scene. Vaguely remember.
Heart of Glass.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
That was the song that was playing. And I remember just before things started getting very violent and they show that guy's face and the sides of his hair kind of like lift up a little bit. When I was watching this and I thought about that song and I thought about everything that's happening in Florida, it came together like in that scene, there was a foul wind blowing. And that's what they were trying to indicate there. And I can't stop thinking about that scene.
Yeah.
Because there's definitely a foul wind blowing. And I'm just really scared about what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So get the fuck out and vote in the midterms, especially if you're in a state that could be considered a battleground state.
Yeah.
Our rights are on the table and it's not going to get any better. And if we end up with a Republican-controlled Congress, good fucking luck, folks.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically speaking,
I'm terrified.
Yeah, likewise. Voting is not a love letter to the politician. It is a bus ticket, and it gets you to a stop that's a little bit closer to where you want to be.
Yep. In the words of the great Jim Wright at Stone Kettle Station, who makes me smile every fucking day with his surly breakdowns of everything that happens, be pragmatic with your vote.
Yeah.
At the very least, show the fuck up, please.
Show the fuck up.
Yeah.
No. And even if you're not in a battleground state,
show up anyway.
Show up
because
anyway.
you need to, because your state could very quickly become one.
Yeah.
Because this is like, Gilead is a cancer. It's spread to Canada. All of this horse shit that's happening in red states, especially select southern states, this is going to spread like a cancer. And how these far-right extremists get in is they get in on places like your local town councils and your school boards, state reps, state senators. They get in on the ground floor.
Yeah.
And then that is how they work their way up until here you are.
Yeah. You don't want to find out.
It's there and you can't get rid of it.
Right. You don't want to find out you were in a battleground state too late.
Exactly.
After the votes are counted, and that's what'll happen. So
exactly.
no assumptions. Just vote.
Right. Please. If early voting, I mean, by the time you hear this, early voting will no longer work. But for those going back, it's still worth noting. If you have the capability to vote early, vote early. If your state has a referendum on the table about early voting, 1 in 4. There's only 4 states in the country that don't allow early voting. If your state has a referendum for early voting, vote for early voting, because not everyone is afforded the luxury of taking a day off from work or a half day or even an hour to stand in line to vote. And remember, you're not voting for yourself. You're voting for the best world possible for you and your neighbor and your neighbor's children.
Even if they don't recognize it.
Even if they don't recognize it. Turn the other cheek and be a better human and vote for a better world for everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got nothing else.
Rainbows and sunshine and
I have
optimism
no rainbows.
for one day.
I have no rainbows, no sunshine.
Somebody cue the Cure's, what was it? What was that song last week? The song from The Cure that was playing when she was running?
I can't remember.
It's in my notes, and I had to start a new notebook. So, And anyway, we can't have sunshine and rainbows and flowers. This is Gilead, and Gilead is elsewhere.
And we're about to get into the last episode, so we know it's not gonna be a happy ending yet. We're a season too short for a happy ending.
Oh my gosh, no, we're a season and
And a
and another series.
No, I said it. I'm like,
Oh Lord, it's
84 years.
it's
it's a 400-point plan, guys. It's gonna take time.
yep.
Yes.
And we're at 0.5 right now. Chestnut checkers.
And with that, we're going to wrap this up. So, like we said, go vote. And I don't know. That's all I got. That's my message. Please. Bye.
And oh no, I've got,
I don't know. I
just
just
add
got
on
nothing
to
else.
it.
I don't
And
know.
for anyone that thinks that our podcasts are too political and that this show isn't about politics, please send us an email at redresistancepodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to read your letter aloud to our other listeners, so they can all laugh at you about why this show is political. Please, we encourage you.
Yes, I would love that.
I love that.
And I'll read it because it'll
She
be
does
so
such
much
a good
fun and it would be
job.
great voiceover practice. I'll make you sound so good.
All right, I think we did it. Let's call it an
I think
episode.
so too.
Calling it.
Episode 9.
Good night.
Good night.